Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We gotta add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. They always have been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the Vietnam War. The government has been getting bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about a major movement that could be taking place any minute now on Bitcoin. As we're going to be discussing, Bitcoin has constricted itself a great deal. We're going to be looking at the Bollinger Bands, and you're going to see how Bitcoin has really become very wound up. It's gotten very constricted, and whenever you see Bitcoin find itself in this kind of territory, what you almost always end up seeing happen is a major volatile event. We have seen the exact same thing take place many times in recent memory, especially when Bitcoin got very constricted right here between these two levels of support and resistance. Bitcoin had a volatile break bullish and then a major falling over. And at this current moment, we see that Bitcoin is actually getting very constricted between a couple of moving averages once again, a couple of trend lines, excuse me, once again. And this is most likely going to lead to a major volatile event. Whether it takes place today or not, we shall see. But what I do believe is that you're going to see a major movement on Bitcoin very soon. And today we're going to be discussing exactly where that is. We've seen a lot of talk about Bitcoin potentially jumping up here and hitting this bullish CME futures gap that we have up here at $82,000. This is very possible. We discussed how Bitcoin would probably not go above $80,000. If we were to come up here and put a small wick in and then fall right back over, that would satisfy the qualifications of filling the CME futures gap, while also more or less satisfying what we said yesterday, which is that Bitcoin will likely not be seeing a major break above $80,000 as we continue here in the bear market. Pardon me, I'm getting a cold. Sorry about that. We are right now in a bear market, and many people are discussing the context of, well, are we following M2? Are we following the business cycle? Are we following liquidity? Or are we following the four-year halving cycle? Because a great many different technical factors are pointing in the direction of Bitcoin being very bullish. Its underlying intrinsic value, in my opinion, should be at least $150,000, if not even $200,000. That's where I think the fair value of Bitcoin is. I think it's completely and totally fair for Bitcoin to trade at $250,000, but we're at $68,000. Why is that? Well, the reason for that is because Bitcoin, since the very beginning, has been governed by the four-year halving cycles, and every single cycle, people try to fade the four-year halving cycle, ourselves included. We said, you know, look, we could be seeing the super cycle. Guess what? That didn't happen. And as soon as we actually hit our criterion for Bitcoin going into a bear market, we said, we're in a bear market. You understand what I'm saying? So what we ultimately have to do is we have to bet with the trend that we have. And right now, the trend that we have is that Bitcoin is a very bearish asset for the next few months. It's not an asset you should be expecting returns in for the next few months, but it is an asset that you should be expecting that you are going to get fantastic entries in over the next few months. So today we're going to be talking about a major movement that is likely going to come to Bitcoin, and I'm very much looking forward to going over all of that with you. If you're new here, my name is Jeb McAfee. I've been working in the cryptocurrency space for about 9 years, and I still forget to make sure that this stupid soundboard over here is plugged in. You got to laugh at yourself. You know, the funny thing is, I've done so many pieces of content over the years that just the absolute most stupid technical difficulties you will ever imagine happen sometimes. And so I do apologize for the mix-up there a second ago. I was like, why is my hello sound? I looked, I'm like, oh, no wonder my fancy soundboard right here. I don't know if you can see it. You can't see it. My fancy soundboard right here is not plugged in. There you go. So fix that. Anyway, let's read some chat. Very much looking forward to getting into some technical analysis with you guys today. El Matador is in chat. Rocky Race Official in chat. Doc Williams in chat. F1 Inferno. Shane Hill. We love reading all the names. If you're in chat and you comment, I am going to do my very best to read your post. I would love to read all of your chats. Spectre12100 said, still looking sharp, Jeb. Thank you. I'm working on getting some new outfits. We gotta keep the fit up. I think that this is the kind of content where we ought to be rocking a suit whenever we're on stream. I can't guarantee it's going to be every day, but I love dressing nice. I love dressing nice. Look good, feel good. That's what I say. So if you haven't, make sure to get a couple of good suits in your wardrobe. It's good. It makes you feel good. You know how good it makes me feel to put on a suit, jump in my Tesla, and just, it's fun. You know what I mean? They did a study. This is completely off topic, but you'll find this interesting. They did a study of men based on whether they were driving in the city or on the highway, and based on whether they were driving a minivan or sports car. And what they did is, I think they had somebody in the passenger seat, and they drew their blood and they tested their testosterone levels in each of those situations. City, minivan, city, sports car, highway, minivan, highway, sports car. Lo and behold, the testosterone in these men was lower than baseline if they were driving a minivan in the city, but it was significantly higher than baseline if they were driving a sports car on the highway. And I always think about that. It's fun. It's fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's completely fine. Crypto Vic in chat. Let's see. Doc Williams in chat. Shane Hill, BetaBot, Brian Barrett, Antonio Castillo Jr. What's up, y'all? God bless. God bless you as well. Tom Wilkes, good to see you, man. It's been a while. Yes, I see you said that too. Yes, it has been. It's good to see you. All right. Doc Williams said, Jeb, when you have time, could you give me your thoughts on the privacy narrative? What exactly about the privacy narrative? We're talking about like privacy as it relates to Bitcoin transactions, like the Monero and Zcash kind of debate. Give me a little bit more to go on there, and I would love to do that. Yeah, awesome. Okay. All right, let's dive right on into it, guys. Bitcoin right now is trading at right about 68,000. We've also got Crypto Vic asking about the ISM business cycle. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Grass X Meta is in chat. Said, hey, good morning, Jeb. Good morning. AstroTube official in chat. I can't see for some reason. This is cutting off. There we go. Give me 1 second so I can actually read. New, but I'm happy to be here. Happy that you're here. Good to see you. Iron Hooligan said, love to send you our new nonprofit to combat child trafficking t-shirt. My fitness apparel brand is funding the start of destroying child trafficking. Love the channel and thanks for everything. Love it. What a great thing. All right, let's dive right on into it. Bitcoin is currently trading at $68,000. As you guys know, we have been more or less trading sideways for the last several weeks since we originally dropped down towards $68,000. And our overall, the overall story that we are covering right now is the bear market. Where's the bear market bottom? When is the bear market bottom? And most importantly, how do we convert this information into wealth for our families? That's the goal. That's the goal. Our audience is like 90% male. It's not that I'm not interested in talking to the females that are watching. I think that's awesome. I love that you're here. But I know that a lot of the people watching our channel are dudes with wives and kids. That's just what it is. And that's me. I'm a dude with a wife and kids. And I want to take good care of them. So what's the point of me just analyzing a chart just for fun? Is it a hobby for me? Yeah, I actually really enjoy reading charts and trying to figure out where they go. It is. It's fun for me. And I will be honest, there are plenty of times at night when I'm supposed to be sleeping that I've got my laptop right there on my lap. It's called a laptop after all, man. That's why it's called a laptop. Have you ever thought about that? It's supposed to go on your lap. I'm sitting there in bed, my laptop's on my lap, and I'm doing charting at 11:30 at night. And I shouldn't be, but I am because it's interesting to me. But it being interesting isn't good enough. We need to convert it into useful skills. We need to convert it into wealth because that's the reason we're here, is to build financial sovereignty, is to get control over our money so that we have peace. So what do we do with the information that we're going to discuss today? Well, that's kind of what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what this bear market's looking like, where Bitcoin's likely to go in the short term, and most importantly, so that this is not just some random waste of time, what should we do about it? Let's dive right on into it. Bitcoin is almost certainly not done with this bear market. That's the first thing that I need to mention. It is almost certainly not over. Many people are trying to come up with any possible reason to believe that it's over, that $60,000 was the bottom. I see absolutely no reason whatsoever that $60,000 should have been the bottom. The bounce that we have gotten off of $60,000 so far is atrocious. This is abysmal. It's been 2 weeks almost since we hit $60,000. And we've only managed to rally up to the 0.382 Fibonacci level on the log chart. On the regular chart, it's higher. On the log chart, 0.382 is lower. That's how high we rallied. Back when we recovered off of the $80,000 bounce, on the regular chart, where the 0.382 is higher, that's how far we rallied. On the log chart, we only rallied to the 0.382 almost immediately, and then we briefly bounced above it. But on the regular chart, that's as high as we rallied. And so that's what Bitcoin's done again. This recovery is weak. It's weak. We talk about this in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. We talk about the strength of the bulls and the bears. Gauging the strength of the bulls and the bears, gauging the strength of support and resistance. This is in the FinSov Academy. This is one of our courses. This is the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. We talk about gauging the strength of the support and resistance and gauging the strength of the bulls and the bears. If you are not able to look at a chart and tell me who's in charge and how strong they are, you are not ready to use technical analysis to help you understand which direction the market is moving. Because that's all technical analysis is figuring out who's driving the market, the buyers or the sellers, and how strong they are. Our job is to identify areas of weakness and areas of strength, and to identify which faction is weak and which faction is strong. And so we've discussed this at length. What I want to do is I want to make technical analysis accessible. That's why I teach it, because God gave me a knack for explaining things in a way that people understand. I don't know why he did, but he did. And what I need you to understand is that there's not a lot of buying activity whatsoever in that $75,000 to $80,000 range. There's not much here. If there was, we'd be up there, first of all, right? The reason I can tell you there's not a lot of buying activity up here is because there's not a lot of buying activity right here. That's number one. But number two, there's also an enormous amount of resistance. $75,000 is strong. $80,000 is strong. You have everybody on X saying, oh, but Jeb, the CME futures gap. Oh, but Jeb, there's a fair value gap right here. Yes, that's true. There is an FVG. And let's see what chart it shows up on. I'm going to guess 8 hour. Probably easier to find even on the daily. There's a fair value gap. Jeb, there's a fair value gap right here. Yes, there is. At $80,000. Jeb, there's a fair value gap right here. Yes, there is. At $86,000. If you don't know what a fair value gap is, it's basically, let me find a good example here. A fair value gap is found in 3 candles like this. It's useful in day trading, especially right here. See how on our first candle, we have this wick up. Second candle pushes straight through. Third candle has a wick down. The gap between the wick high on the first candle and the wick low on the third candle, this creates a fair value gap that theoretically the market's going to fill, which it did here. So does that mean that Bitcoin's going to have a rally up towards $80,000? Very possibly. I mean, we do have this fair value gap here, right? We have the fair value gap here. We have a fair value gap up here at 86, although I think that's a stretch. Fair value gaps, unlike CME futures gaps, are not almost always filled. They do get left behind quite often, actually, which is why you have to be careful trading them. But they are useful. So with the gaps up here, you know, and with the CME futures gap right here, your theory might be, oh, well, what if Bitcoin tried to bounce up to 80? Well, it could. It could. But let me tell you what happens if it does. First of all, you fill the CME futures gap, Everybody goes short and you crash. Okay, so you managed to rally to 83. Big freaking whoop. What does that even accomplish? The only thing that it accomplishes is if you are in over your head on leverage and you need to sell some Bitcoin to cover loans. A lot of people took out Morpho debt. They took out Aave debt. They took out credit card debt, HELOCs, etc. at the top in the idea that Bitcoin was just going to appreciate forever. And that didn't happen. And so a lot of people are left with these loans, and for the next year, their entire life is going to revolve around trying to get a liquidation price below $40,000. So if you see Bitcoin spike up to 84,000, those leveraged individuals that are in over their head, are going to close positions to reduce their margin so they don't have a heart attack because they're so stressed out. If Bitcoin manages to get a recovery to $80,000, if that happens, it's most likely going to fall over. And the reason for that is because from a time-based stance, Bitcoin is only, I do say only, 134 days into the bear market. Generally speaking, Bitcoin bear markets can last up to 400 days. So if Bitcoin does have a major rally, and we do manage to push up to $80,000 or even up to maybe $83,000, that's still Elliott wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sure, the 4 wave would be going just a little bit into the 1 wave territory, but it's enough where you could really, it's not really a breach. It'd be like a check minus, but it's not really a breach. So could we go up to 83? Yeah, absolutely. The ceiling could be as high as possibly like 83,000. But that does not mean the bear market is over. If anything, that would be an opportunity to short. I'm not shorting Bitcoin right now because the RSI is so ridiculously low. I'm not doing that right now. It's kind of hard to want to open a short trade right now just because we're already so low. But if we break 60,000, all bets are off. Open a very closely covered short. Ride that sucker down. But what I think is going to happen is that Bitcoin is going to fall over even before that. We're talking about the possibility of a rally up to 83. I don't even think it's going to happen. I'm just saying that some people are saying that we're going back in a bull market, or some people have all these wacky Elliott wave drawings. They're like, "Oh, but Jeb, you got your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5," which this might be accurate, but they're saying that the 4 wave cannot go into the territory of the 1 wave, so the 4 wave must be right here. There's just some wacky business going on here. That's not the way that the cycles work. Your analysis that you're doing cannot invalidate other analysis that is stronger than your analysis. This is like one of the basic rules of technical analysis. It's like when you're analyzing the Bible. When you're analyzing the Bible, you cannot say, well, God's word means this, and it violates 20 other principles of Scripture. You can't do that because they're true. Technical analysis is obviously far less important than Scripture analysis, but it's a similar concept, and that is, your technical analysis should not, and this is not the scriptures we're talking about here, so I mean, there can be some disagreement. Your technical analysis should not go and violate most of what we know about how Bitcoin works. Because guess what? If the entire consensus is that you're wrong, you're probably not the only one in the room that's right and everybody else is wrong. And so what we are seeing are a great number of people that are in over their head, that did not prepare for the bear market. And listen, if I was not prepared for the bear market, I might be one of them too. Which is why it's important to know what the financial picture of the people you watch is. Right now, I have a huge amount of cash, and I built up that cash because I knew a bear market was coming. My criteria of Bitcoin falling below $94,000 got filled, so I said we're going into a bear market. I had these conversations at length with my wife. At length, over and over and over again. Poor lady is so tired of hearing about Bitcoin. No, I'm just kidding. She actually really thinks Bitcoin's very interesting. But we're prepared for it. And what you're seeing is a lot of people are saying, oh, $60,000 wasn't the bottom, and here's why. And what they're doing is they are trying to come up with a narrative to explain why $60,000 wasn't the bottom based on the fact that they screwed up their finances, and now they want to bring you down with them. There is no technical reason whatsoever to believe that $60,000 will hold. None that I can find. None. Not the business cycle. Someone was asking about the ISM business cycle. I'd like to talk about that because it's interesting. It's interesting stuff. But it's not the reason it's not going to cause Bitcoin to go into a rally. So, TLDR. Bitcoin could rally up to $80,000, possibly as high as tagging 83 just to fill that CME futures gap and then drop. I would not be at all surprised to see that happen because that would be peak bull trap territory right there. Oh, Bitcoin filled the CME futures gap. Time to rally. Woo! And everybody shorts because now the only bullish catalyst that you had for the next 6 months is filled. What I would rather happen is this not get filled and us leave it behind, and then Bitcoin's trading at $48,000, $50,000, and then that gives us that hope of, oh, CME futures gaps are almost always filled. There's a CME futures gap at 80,000. Buy at 50. It's the easiest trade of your life. That's what I would like to see happen. I hope this doesn't get filled anytime soon because in 6 months, I would like to flip to being a bull, and if we have that CME futures gap above us, that makes it all the easier. You see what I'm saying? So, ultimately, I also want to look at how Bitcoin is interacting with some key moving averages, like here on the 2-hour chart or so. You have this 2-hour 200 moving average coming down. If Bitcoin is able to start trading sideways here, that's great. But this was a huge move. I would not be surprised to see Bitcoin need to trade sideways for a while. But I do think that some kind of large move, and by large, I mean on the order of, well, there it is. As promised. Big move coming on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's down $1,400 in the last 18 minutes. It's just funny when we hit the nail on the head like that, isn't it? A major Bitcoin movement is around the corner. So we were going to be talking today about why there's likely going to be a major breakout here. Because Bitcoin's coiled tightly like a spring. Spring-loaded, baby. It's coiled tightly like a spring. And it was coiled tightly above this uptrending level of support. And it was kind of riding it. And we were watching that. And I said, you know what? I have a feeling we're going to have a big move, probably to the downside. Because a lot of people are anticipating that this inverse head and shoulders pattern is going to play out. And it might do it. If we get a bounce here, it very well may. But what I'm looking at here is that there's going to be some major volatility, probably to the downside. If you look on the Fibonacci retracements, this is where you got to get a little bit careful because Bitcoin has been riding above this 0.382, and we just broke that. So we broke this uptrending level of support right here, and we also just broke that 0.382 Fibonacci level, which indicates that a movement a little bit further to the downside is likely. So just keep that in mind. There's probably going to be a large movement on Bitcoin, and by large, I don't mean $30,000. I mean on the order of probably $2,000 to $4,000. Reason for that being that the Bollinger Bands have become extremely constricted. They're very tight. On the 8-hour chart, you can see that the Bollinger Bands have become extraordinarily constricted, and so we need to be on the lookout for some major volatility. I think the chessboard is going to get tossed up in the air. Things are going to get shaken up a little bit here pretty soon. But ultimately, I don't think that it's going to be enough volatility that Bitcoin's going to break its range. I think that Bitcoin's going to get really boring here for the next couple of weeks to the next month or so, and it's going to have some big movements down, some big movements up, and every time it moves down or it moves up, everybody's going to cry, bull market, bear market, bull market, bear market, bull market, bear market. And what we need to understand is that unless Bitcoin breaks below $60,000, it's still in a range. And unless Bitcoin breaks above $80,000, it's still in a range. So just be careful about not getting caught up in this bear market, bull market, bear market, bull market, bull market, bear market, bull market, bear market, bear market, bull market. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Because what you look like is you look unhinged. We can all get caught up doing that, getting caught up down here on the hour chart. Oh my gosh, because of this one thing that happened on the 5-minute chart, Bitcoin's about to go to the moon. And then the next day it falls over and guys, Bitcoin, it's gonna go visit $0. We just gotta chill. We have to take the emotion out of it because listen, I have been doing technical analysis for 8 years. And you know what I've learned? You know what's interesting? CT2A was made 7 years ago. Most of the videos in CT2A are 6 years old. You know why I haven't updated them? Because I don't need to. And because if I do, I actually might make them worse. Because they are, I don't want to say they're perfect, but they're just about as perfect as I can figure out right now. And the reason for that is because after doing technical analysis on Bitcoin for 8.5 years, almost 9 years, in July, which is not far from now, it'll be 9 years. After doing technical analysis on Bitcoin for almost a decade, you know what I found? When you start TA, you learn the basics. And then you learn more and 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 more. And you think you know everything. And you start getting calls wrong that you were getting right at the beginning. The first video on this channel, I said that the bull market needs to end soon because we didn't have a big enough correction. I gauged the strength of the bulls. They were not only strong, they were too strong. They did not get the correction that they needed, which meant that soon they were going to get winded. Go to the channel, sort by oldest, watch our first video. I said that the bottom that Bitcoin had, the correction that Bitcoin had, was not large enough. I'd been doing TA for 2 months. And I got that right. You know how I got that right? Here's how. Because we have such a tendency to read our own emotions and our own thoughts and our own feelings. And, oh, well, this person said this to me and this person said that to me. And I'm stressed out about money and I'm stressed out about this. I'm stressed out about that. And we read all of it. Or I'm excited about this. Or I want the Lambo. Or I want the house. Or I want the fancy car. I want the paddock. You know, whatever it is. And if we're greedy, we read hope into the market. And if we're fearful, we read bearishness into the market. Read the frickin' market you have. Seriously. That's why I leave CT2A alone. I'm like, it's perfect. I'm not going to touch it. It is perfect. I might add videos to it, but it is glorious. We've had 5,000 people go through CT2A. You know why they continue to go through CT2A? Because I firmly believe that it is the very best technical analysis course on the market. It's funny, it's informative, and it's just incredibly helpful to read the market. And the reason for that is because I was playful when I made it. I was having fun with it, man. I was having a grand old time. And it was in the middle of the 2018 bear market. And it was in the middle of the 2022 bear market when some of the content went in there. And I was having fun with it. When you're looking at the chart, you have to check your biases. You don't realize it. But if you're underwater on a loan, you're watching this chart, and here's the perspective that you bring to it. You don't realize it, but subconsciously, what you're saying to yourself is, God, if Bitcoin would only get to $80,000, then I could sell some Bitcoin, I could cover my loan, and then I would be able to sleep better at night. And so you start only looking at bullish scenarios. You start to say, oh, but man, look, Bitcoin's got this uptrend. It's going to ride this uptrend. It's going to do this. And it's going to go up to 80,000. Well, Jeb said that $80,000 is a possibility, so that is most likely probably what's going to happen. You start reading into things. Or if you're super bearish, like I'm sitting on cash, I want to get a better entry. I have to check my biases. I want to make sure that I'm not being biased saying we're going down to 50,000 just because I want a better entry. Because that's an emotional thing for me too. I'm like, man, I want to buy Bitcoin at 50K again. I'd love to get to do that. I have to be careful of checking my biases because what I can say is, oh, but look, we have our overside and underside test. Look, we've got this downtrend and we're going to ride it to the downside. It's going to take a few months, but eventually that's going to push us straight into $60,000 and then we're going to fall straight through the floor. Do you see how you can make a case for either direction? Any analyst can make a case for either direction. And both of those cases would be wrong. You know why? Because the market's trading sideways. It's not in a downtrend right now. It's not in an uptrend right now. It's in a predominant downtrend. But on the short term, on the hourly chart, it's just trading sideways. And until you break this range, and more specifically, this range, it's going to continue being in a sideways trend. Whether you want it to go up because you need to sell some, or whether you want it to go down like me because you want to buy some. You have to check your biases because you can make the chart say whatever you want it to say. People do that. We talked about scripture earlier. People do this with the Bible. You can open the Bible and make it say anything you want. You really can't. You can open the Bible and you can say, see, it says it right here. What people might not understand is that you're neglecting the other 65 books of the Bible. Here's one that we get a lot as Christians. But didn't Jesus say, judge not lest you be judged? Didn't he say don't judge? He said not to judge. Why are you judging me for my sin? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you forget about the rest of the scriptures where we are called to judge sin? Jesus is not saying don't judge sin. He said don't be a hypocrite because you'll bring the same consequence on yourself. But if you take that verse out of context, you can make it say whatever you want. You say, well, Jesus doesn't judge. I can do whatever I want. There's no hell. You see how you can get carried away real fast. That's not what the scriptures say. You have to take it in the context of everything else, and you have to ensure that you are not reading into it what you want, because it's real easy to believe, oh, but Jesus said don't judge, when you know that you're doing something you shouldn't be. It's real easy to say, oh, but he said don't judge. No, he said don't be a hypocrite. So if you're being a hypocrite and you're judging, you're going to bring the same punishment on yourself. That's what he's saying. And so in the same context, we can take these charts and make them say whatever we want because we want them to, and we won't even realize it. It is our natural tendency to be heretics. It is our natural tendency to not be logical. We think we are logical beings, and we're not. We're not as logical as we think we are. So what we absolutely have to do, is to get our own personal finances in order. Do you know the times that I've been the best and the worst analyst? After having done this for almost a decade, I can tell you there have been some absolutely terrible calls that I've made. I've made some horrible calls. And I've made some great calls, man. I've done both. I have noticed a pattern in my tenure of doing TA. And that pattern is, if I am not at peace financially, if I am not at peace with my family, if I am not at peace at home, if I am not walking in the fruit of the Spirit that is peace, that there is no law against, that I am commanded to have at all times, if I am not walking in the fruit of the Spirit of peace, if I'm walking in self-condemnation or shame or whatever it may be, I'm not going to do as good of a job as I could have. I'm not. And so we have to make sure that we put our finances in order so that we can read the charts correctly, so that we can continue to grow our wealth. Do you see how this works? Do you see how this is an engine? You get it right, and it helps you read the charts correctly, which helps you get it right again, which helps you make more money, which helps you have more peace. And it's this cycle. It's this beautiful cycle. If we'll just do what God told us to do, which is to pursue peace. So what do we do with this chart? Stripping our biases. What we do with our chart is we say that Bitcoin is sideways. Not I want it to go up, not I want it to go down. The bottom line is that Bitcoin is sideways. What we do now is we ask ourselves a question. What do I want to do with the market I have, not the market I want? It's not about the market you want. The market doesn't give a crap what you want. The market does not care about your feelings. So stop trying to make the market care about your feelings. What do I do with the market that I have? The market that you have right now is Bitcoin is trading at $67,000, which is, frankly, an enormous discount from all-time high. We are down 47%. I saw something on X yesterday detailing what the one-year return on Bitcoin has been historically when you're 50% down from all-time high. There's a 90% likelihood in those instances that a year from then, this is what the post said. I actually don't know if I don't know if this is true or not, but there's like a 90% likelihood that a year from then you're probably going to be up if you're more than 50% down from all-time high. So of course, if you're only 50% down from all-time high, there's a pretty high chance that a year from then you might not be up, right? For example, over here. But for the most part, just fast forward a few days, and when you're down more than 50% from all-time high, basically everything in, like with the previous bear market, pretty much everything in this zone right here, below about 32,000, 34,000, right? More or less, at all times, a year out, you're positive. You see what I'm saying? So generally speaking, when you're down from over 50%, a year out, you're positive. Right now, there's like a 60 to 70% chance that a year from now you're up. But as you get lower, especially below 50%, down below 60%, there's an extremely high likelihood that you're up in a year. And when you want to look out 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, it approaches 100%. And it does. It eventually gets to 100%. I mean, there are instances where, if you're down 50% from all-time high, 3 years on, you've never been unprofitable, more or less. I mean, I can't think of a single instance where that has been the case. 3 years on, you're 50% down from all-time high, you're not up. And up significantly, not just up where you're not even beating the bear, where you're not even beating the market, like up a lot. And so what you need to do is you need to say, non-emotionally, Bitcoin is sideways right now. Can it go up to 80? Yeah, it can go up to 80. Could it drop down to 60? Yeah, it could drop down to 60. Oh, but Jeb, you're doing that thing again. It could go up or down. Yes. Welcome to technical analysis. It can go up or down. That's like the sky is blue. When you're navigating the world, you have certain truths about the way the world works that you adopt. The sun's going to rise tomorrow. I have to breathe to not die. Yes, it can go up or down. We're analyzing what's more likely. We are preparing for both scenarios. And we're checking our biases at the door and letting the market speak for itself so that we can actually build something for our families here. Okay, so if it goes up to $80,000 and you're in a buttload of debt against your Bitcoin, might not be a bad idea to sell some and cover that. Because you put yourself in a bad position and your sleep is worth more than having a bunch of Bitcoin and riding it through a bear market and aging 5 years in a year and getting a divorce and your kids hating you because you are a crappy parent and a crappy husband because you couldn't stop thinking about Bitcoin. There's been a lot of time in my marriage where I could not stop thinking about Bitcoin because I was in a position that I didn't like. And it has wreaked havoc on my family. I don't do that anymore. And I will never do that again because I care more about them than I care about having 10 Bitcoin. I care more about peace than I care about having 100 Bitcoin. I care more about the kingdom of God than I care about having 1,000 Bitcoin. There is no amount of Bitcoin to me that is worth more than my peace. So if you are in a bunch of debt and Bitcoin goes up to $80,000, here's some financial advice for you. Do whatever it takes to get peace. Legally speaking, I can't give you much more than that from a financial advice perspective, but I will definitely give you financial advice on that. You can haul me before a judge and I will say, yes, that's my financial advice. Pursue peace. I don't care what you say. Pursue peace. If you can't sleep at night because you're a coward and you don't have conviction in Bitcoin, or because you made a mistake and you put yourself in a position where you're overexposed, selling a little bit of Bitcoin so that you can sleep at night is the right decision, even though it's going to feel wrong in the moment. And you're going to fast forward 5 years and you're going to say, I could have had more Bitcoin. Yes, but you could have had more Bitcoin at the cost of your peace. And there is nothing worth your peace. Nothing. Not even Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not more important than your wife. Bitcoin is not more important than your husband. Bitcoin is not more important than your children. Bitcoin is not more important than your ability to sleep at night. You will not hear many people saying this on YouTube because they want you to get 100 Bitcoin because they want Bitcoin to go up. And if you buy a bunch of Bitcoin, then you help boost the market. This is not a crypto channel. This is a finance channel that is based extremely heavily in the spiritual truth that you need to pursue sovereignty and peace. And Bitcoin can help you do that, but only if you interact with the market in the correct way. So what do we do if Bitcoin goes down to $60,000 or $50,000? Historically, statistically speaking, if Bitcoin were to drop below $60,000, it is extraordinarily unlikely that we would spend very long at all down there. Less than a year. Probably more than a month, but less than a year. And so that's where you start heavily accumulating Bitcoin, because at that point in time, you would be down here below the 200 weekly moving average. The 200 weekly moving average currently stands at $58,236. If Bitcoin does drop down into that territory, then it goes from a buy, which we're at a buy zone right now, to a strong buy. Anything below the 200 daily moving average is an incredible entry. I mean, just think about if you had bought anywhere in this zone down here. Anywhere in that zone. We're 50% down from all-time high. You bought in that zone, you're still up 3x 4 years on. It's an incredible entry. As Charlie Munger said, buy great assets at good prices. He said buy great stocks, but we're going to apply it to assets too. Buy great assets at good prices. As Warren Buffett said, buy when there's blood in the streets, even if it's your own blood. Be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. These things are true. Everybody's scared right now. If you drop down below $60,000, the sky's going to be falling. Oh, quantum killed Bitcoin. Oh, Epstein Satoshi. Oh, this, oh, that. Oh, be quiet. You know what's funny? I see these posts every bear market. Miners go on YouTube and they start mocking all the price people like me. They start mocking all the analysts and all the investors, and they start saying, Bitcoin's dying? I don't know. Blocks are going through every 10 minutes. Nothing has changed with the actual underlying intrinsic value of Bitcoin. Oh, knots. Oh, core. Oh, spam. Oh, whatever. Bitcoin still processes transactions. There's still a limited supply. And it's still being adopted by more and more people as the scarcest asset in the history of mankind that has major network effect. It's the future. It just is. It's that simple. So guys, listen, if you haven't already, I highly encourage you to sign up for the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. It took me a long time to learn how to do technical analysis on Bitcoin. I mean, it took me thousands of hours. And what you're going to find in CT2A is that I am not selling you on how to learn analysis. You can learn some of this stuff in our videos. A lot of it you won't, because the stuff I do behind the scenes. There is some stuff that's gated here in CT2A. But the reason that CT2A is here is not because I'm selling you, and I am. I'm trying to sell you something. Newsflash, I'm a capitalist. The reason CT2A is here is not because I'm trying to sell you on how to learn analysis. That's not what we're selling. That's not what's for sale here. That is what's for sale. I mean, there's over 60 videos teaching you how to do technical analysis. Some big names in the industry that you would know if I said their names got started in CT2A. I'm not going to say because I don't want to like take any of their credit from them, but you would know their names. I know their names. I'm personal friends with them. I've met them, shook hands with them, had food with them, etc. The reason that you should sign up for CT2A is not because I'm selling you on how to learn TA. It's because I'm selling you your time back. I mean, think about it. That's why we do education in the first place. I could just drop a calculus textbook in front of my 5-year-old and say, learn calculus. Go teach it to yourself. And he could sit there for the next 10,000 years and he's not going to understand it because he's still learning how to freaking read. You know what I mean? The reason that you invest in education is, one, so that you get it right. I don't want a heart surgeon that learned how to do heart surgery on YouTube because no one was there to correct their technique. I don't want an autodidact. You understand? I don't want an autodidact who's self-taught unless they've been doing it for an extremely long time. I've been doing TA for an extremely long time, and I have learned from everybody in the industry. I am very, very thankful for everybody in the industry who does technical analysis. I'm constantly learning from all of my colleagues. I'm constantly watching other people's TA and saying, man, that's interesting, you know? I've gone through courses. I've done the same thing. What CT2A is offering you is it's offering you your time back, and it's offering you accuracy. Because you can learn something correctly, but you need someone who's a master at this stuff to teach you the right way to do it. Because if you get a bad habit, you can end up really screwing up with thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars because you did something wrong, because you didn't read a technical indicator the right way. Learning how to read the markets is important because if we do it right, it helps us build wealth. If we do it wrong, we can end up making major mistakes. So I encourage you to sign up for CT2A, not because you can't find, oh, but Jeb, I can just go look up some of the stuff on Investopedia. You can. And you might interpret it wrong. And it's going to take you hundreds of hours. In the beginning, I taught myself a lot of technical analysis. It took me thousands of hours. It took me so long. If I had worked at McDonald's for $8.25 an hour, I would have made tens of thousands of dollars with the time that I spent learning technical analysis. The reason that I tell you about CT2A every day is because if I was back at the beginning and I could sell myself this course, I would do anything that I possibly could to get my hands on it because I would go back and not spend all that time trying to learn TA. I'd spend all that time doing something else. And you can too. Back then, when I did all that time learning TA, I had all the free time in the world. I was a single dude. I was a single 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old as I'm building out CT2A. Today, I have a wife and 3 kids. And free time, what's that? I don't have time for all that. So what I do is when I want to learn something new, and I'm constantly learning, I go to experts and I let them tell me because I can learn in 20 minutes from them what it would take me 10 hours to learn somewhere else. Education is worth every penny, guys. Sign up for CT2A. The link's in the description box down below. I do believe there's currently a coupon code for 20% off. So if you use coupon code JEB20, you'll get 20% off the purchase price. That'll bring that down by about $120. So make sure if you haven't already to sign up for CT2A with the link in the description box down below. Let's read a little bit of chat, and then we're going to have to wrap it out here. Yanni is in chat. Queen Sov is in chat. Silverback, Rocket Race, Official said, Jeb, can you give me a 50% discount? Can't do that, but I can give you a 20% discount. Jeb20 is in the description, is the coupon code that's accessible right now. This is the Jeb I've come to see and love, the teaching of spirituality. Thank you. Jeb is the best at TA, no doubt. However, you cannot ignore the Lux algo, and you cannot ignore the ISM above 52. Now, the ISM is something I'm not going to have time to get into today, but we are going to look at it. The ISM manufacturing PMI is an economic indicator signaling that the United States economy is very strong from an industrial and manufacturing standpoint, and it is very important. And that is why I do believe that this bear market is going to be shallower than previous bear markets. And you can see it from the S&P 500. During the last bear market, we saw a major crash on the S&P 500. That's not really taking place right now. So if we don't ever get that major crash on S&P, I do expect that the bear market's going to be shallower, which is why I think we are very close to the bottom. I think you see possibly the 50s, but I think we're very close. We're right here. This was the top. I think we go here. 67,000 is a phenomenal entry. It's a great entry. But I will tell you from experience and from the people that we're talking to that there are a lot of people that are looking for lower. There just are. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if S&P actually kind of falls into a correction here. We are in a midterm year. Trump's not going to want the stock market to look like crap moving into the midterms because he needs people in Congress to support him. So there's probably going to be a lot of different things that are going on here. You have the Trump accounts coming out. You know, there's a reason for that. They're trying to pump the stock market. It's really that simple. They're taking tax dollars, putting it into the market to pump the market so they look good. There's more to it than that, but that's kind of the way it goes. So anyway, number go up over time. So just make sure you buy it when number go down. That's really investing 101 right there. Number go up over time, buy it when number go down. It's it is complicated, but it's also that simple. All right, so guys, if you haven't already, I highly encourage you also to check out iTrust Capital. Big shout out to them. The reason that you should sign up for iTrust Capital is because you can actually buy Bitcoin with retirement account products. If you don't know, IRAs are incredibly important. You absolutely must have an IRA in your investment strategy because what we want to do is we want to mitigate taxes. A traditional IRA allows you to deduct any money that you invest this year against your taxes for this year, and then you pay taxes later. Those taxes happen after your principal has grown. What this means is that although you have to pay taxes on the distributions of Bitcoin in the future, which you would have had to do anyway, what you are able to do is you're able to deduct your income against you're able to deduct your investments, against your income. So let's say you put $7,000 this year in a traditional IRA. That's $7,000 that you don't have to pay 24% tax on if you're making between $100,000 and $200,000 a year. So essentially, you're saving 24% on the entry price. So in another way of saying that, you're basically getting $7,000 of Bitcoin for like $5,700. And if you invest that $1,300 of savings back in, then you're basically getting $8,300 worth of Bitcoin for $7,000. Do you see what I'm saying? So what you are ending up doing is that you are buying Bitcoin below spot price when you consider the fact that you're getting major tax savings. So if you're saving 24% tax on Bitcoin right now by buying Bitcoin in a traditional IRA through iTrust Capital, and you take the tax savings and you reinvest it back into Bitcoin, that's a little bit like buying Bitcoin at 50K. You understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I mean, give me a 1 in chat if what I'm saying is making sense, because I know this is technical. But if you're buying, let's say, one Bitcoin here at $66,000, and then you get 24% of the $66,000 back because you didn't have to pay it in taxes, and then you invest that also, then what you're doing for $66,000, you're actually not getting one Bitcoin, you're getting like 1.24 Bitcoin or so, which brings your average entry price down. It's incredible. That's why you need to sign up for iTrust Capital. I invest in Bitcoin through iTrust Capital. I'm very, very, very much a huge fan of iTrust Capital. So if you haven't already, go to itrustcapital.com/go/crypto-jeb. Link for that is in the description box down below. Sign up and invest in Bitcoin today through retirement account products because they're going to help you mitigate your taxes. They're going to help you have a lower tax bill this year, and they're also going to help you get a better price, a better entry on Bitcoin. All right. Really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Lots more that we're going to be going over in today's afternoon video. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Make sure to follow us on X at CryptoJeb and stay tuned for more content. I love you so much. Remember, today's stream is also brought to you first and foremost by Jesus Christ. Give your life to him. You will not regret it. I promise you that. All my life, you will not regret that. You have questions? I had questions. I still have questions. He's true. Give your life to Jesus. You won't regret it. I promise. It's that simple. We'll talk about it more later. But yeah, before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good